Let's keep that applause going as we welcome the directors of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Joe and Anthony Russo, as well as the stars, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan.
Hello. All right.
Welcome, everyone.
Nice.
Where's the there it is. Wow.
Actually, I lied. There are two ladies dressed as the Winter Soldier.
Oh my God,
Nice.
that's fantastic.
You're a much better Winter Soldier than he is.
I don't see any Falcon anywhere.
Hey.
Wow.
If we're gonna heckle, let's make them, a little bit less soft than that. Now, we've just seen the trailer, and my first question is, to the directors here, in your mind, what is the name of the barbershop quartet that Cap is in?
I don't know. The Capettes?
I think it's called Barbershop Quartet.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. I mean, really, it doesn't matter anymore. Now, that trailer, when I first saw it, really, it got me quite excited for a number of reasons, but two of the reasons are sitting right here. That Falcon suit, I need to talk about that. I gather that wasn't actually a working jetpack. How was it done? Was it just stubs? Was it how do you act with wings?
Man. It well, the problem was, when I met with the Russos, my first thing was, don't make me look stupid. Just whatever you do, don't make me look stupid and give me spandex. Those were my two requests, right? So I should get up on set, I put the suit on, put the pack on, and the wings on set were about 2.5 feet long. So they hooked these little wings on, and I'm like, this isn't gonna end well. Like, why? They gotta be better. I look like a pheasant. Like, I look like a quail. I'm not a falcon, But it all worked out. Everything was basically on me except for the wings. The wings were CGI'd in.
Those stubs were there just to have something to track for the CGI guys.
But they didn't tell me that. They just gave me stubs and said, "Fly, Falcon."
The butterfly man.
Oh my God.
And Sebastian, likewise, you have a mask on for a lot of the film. How is that a challenge as an actor?
Well, it was challenging physically because we were doing the fight sequences over and over all day in the summer heat, and there were times where I couldn't breathe very properly. But in a way, it was an advantage because at the end of the day, fully dressed, I was looking in the mirror and I couldn't recognize myself. And I feel like I discovered a lot about the character once the whole costume was together.
As an assassin, that does help when you.
As an assassin.
As an assassin, huh?
And he was about 20 pounds heavier. So
that definitely, I lost all that within probably like 3 weeks.
But it was 20 pounds of muscle, let's be clear.
I just want to make sure
just
everyone
walking around eating everybody's food. Like, you couldn't keep a protein bar. Just Sebastian with his metal arm. Give me the bar, I'm going to punch you.
Anthony, Joe, I've got to ask, I'm a big Community fan and I'm a big Arrested Development fan, but it did surprise me when you guys were announced as the directors. What was it that you think Marvel saw in you that could do this job?
Can I ask you what it was that surprised you about that?
Oh.
Well, hey. Don't get me wrong.
Did you see the paintball episodes on Community?
Did I see them? Yeah, I think I did.
No, listen, it was Kevin Feige, who runs Marvel, is a big fan of Community. And he did see the paintball episodes, and we got a call from them, and they said, listen, have you ever thought about doing an action film? We said, yeah, we've been collecting comic books since we're 10 years old. Of course, we'd love to come in and talk about an action film, and that happened to be Captain America.
Well, part of the reason why I love this film is that it's a 70s conspiracy thriller. It has its comic moments, but it's not a kind of a laugh-out-loud, jokey experience. Was it difficult not to want to stick jokes in every once in a while? Were they being removed maybe in the editing process?
These guys could fill a couple DVDs. No. We loved that the film was a political thriller, and we really embraced that tonally. And to be successful as a political thriller, you need to have real-world stakes. There has to be a seriousness with it. You have to be connected to what's happening in our actual world on some level to make it feel relevant and threatening to an audience. So because of that tone, yeah, we had to be very careful with the comedy in this movie. We had to stay away from what we call like situational comedy. None of the comedy was coming from sort of silly situations. The comedy comes in the movie between characters, and sometimes when you have a tense situation, it helps actually activate sort of comedic moments between characters because it's a bit of a release. So I think, and that was something that was very valuable about Anthony Mackie's character, the Falcon, in the movie, is that he is sort of the newcomer to the group. He doesn't have quite the tense history that the others have shared together. So he brings more of a light energy to the movie and helps loosen things up and keep things fun.
We actually wrote a lot of jokes for Winter Soldier early on, but they just, as he was killing people, they just weren't landing.
But we'll try anything.
Must have been that deadpan expression the whole time.
Now, I think it's time for another clip, and this one involves Sebastian's character. Now, I'm going to set up for you, but let's just quickly explain that this sees Cap chasing after the Winter Soldier and hitting a few walls as he does so.
One of the things we love about Cap is his hatred of doors and windows, and we wanted to come up with a set piece where we could really have some fun with that.
Seriously, he must have loathed that wall. It did not come off well. Now, there's a look you give, Sebastian, which is pretty intense. How many takes did it take to get that just right? That fierce gaze?
I don't know. I'm a one-hit wonder. What can I say? Probably about like 56 takes. I don't know. I mean, we did it.
No, it was like 4 or 5 takes. But
we did it a few times.
What were you thinking about? What motivated that look?
Were you hungry?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was hungry.
Protein bars.
But you gotta remember, you keep thinking I wasn't eating it all. I was the opposite. I was actually eating all the time. Anytime I actually had the mask off, I probably was putting food in my mouth.
Was the mask only there to stop you eating?
Yeah, and to stop people from trying to read my reaction.
How do you work with a man like Anthony Mackie? Because I've only met him just a few days ago, and he's a distracting human being.
No, we're practically friends. We follow each other on Flickr.
Yeah. And
we
Bebo.
Tweet and Beep. Yep. Wombo. What is that? Wabi. Whatever.
All the big names.
Yeah, all the big ones.
We only had a couple days of working together. I mean, I really wish we had more. It's so funny. I was sitting in the hotel last night, and I was like, oh, I got to pick a movie. And I turned on demand. It was basically like, what Anthony Mackie movie do I want to pick? They're all on demand. This man has worked so much over the years, and so it's a pleasure to be up here with him.
He's like the Nick Cage of... no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it.
Imagine Nick Cage black.
It's time for your clip, I think, Anthony. This is one of my favorite bits in the film. There is no Nick moment here, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. You saw a bit of it in the trailer earlier, but enjoy it just one more time in an extended form here.
So did we make Anthony look silly? What do you think?
Looks so stupid, right? Imagine those wings, but that long. And they're like, all right, run. And at the end of the runway, do this. And then put your arms out and run away. That's exactly what happened. And they're like, oh, that looks great. I'm like, good. Never working again.
Watching that again, does it ever get old? Seeing yourself look that cool?
It never gets old to me. When I first started acting, I said I wanted to be a superhero and be in a Western with Clint Eastwood. And when I got the call about this movie, our meeting pretty much went like this. Let's have lunch. Okay. So we're doing this movie. We can't tell you the movie or what character you're going to play. The story is really good, and you'll be an integral part in it. I said, all right. And they look at me like, sounds good, right? Wouldn't you? And they're like, but it's Marvel. And I'm like, oh, good. Oh, so Black Panther? No. I'm like, so are you making Iron Man black? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, okay, I'm in. So it worked out. I'm very happy with it.
I love that your mind went from Black Panther to Iron Man.
That was
black.
it. There was nothing in between.
Love it. For you guys, Joe and Anthony, what did you think? What made you first think of Anthony, bringing him on?
Well, it's a very interesting character. You know, we wanted Falcon to be a partner to Cap. It's not a Batman and Robin situation. This is look. Growing up, when I read the books, Cap and Falcon were a team, and so we needed somebody with real screen presence. And now everything I say is going to sound like a joke, like I'm making fun of Anthony. But we wanted somebody with real integrity, but also charm that could, you know, open up Cap. Cap can be a little straight and narrow sometimes. So you need other characters to interact with him to show more colors to his character, and we loved everything that we saw Anthony in, and it's just you know, he's a fantastic actor. So, you know, how could you do any better than Anthony Mackie?
Hear, hear. Now it's probably time for you guys to ask a couple of questions. So if you'd like to put your hand up, and there is a man there. With we'll get on to the other side of the room soon. There's a man there. Yes,
one
you're the man
in the audience.
What are the chances?
Imagine.
He goes
There's
first.
a man.
One
What
man.
are you doing here?
There's lots of girls here, right? So.
Please ask your question, one man.
What I wanted to ask, I saw the movie last night, and thank you, it's incredible. Welcome to the fold to Anthony as well. What I wanted to ask is, what struck me was the impact and how far you pushed it in terms of how gruesome some of the scenes were. They were really intense. And I wanted to ask how far you were able to push that, and whether there's anything, you know, a bit worse on the editing room floor or anything like that.
No, there's not. I mean, listen, you know, again, being a comic book collector, I have a very specific idea of what it is that I like about comic books. I love Brubaker's run. It's probably one of my favorite comic book runs of all time. I prefer deconstructionist comic books. I like when people deconstruct the mythology of it. I also like when they take a superhero and they put them in a very specific genre, like Brubaker did with espionage/thriller. And it was important for us in the movie to have real stakes. And to us, the Winter Soldier is an extremely brutal character. He's the antithesis of Cap. As principled and good as Cap is, that's how, you know, mean and bad and deadly the Winter Soldier is. They're the opposite of each other. And maybe the Winter Soldier might even be slightly better at his job than Cap is. The Winter Soldier might be better at killing people than Cap is at protecting them. So what's the balance there? So it's really important to us that the movie have an intense and brutal tone, to be faithful to Brubaker's work, and also to raise the stakes in the film. And honestly, we were a little nervous at first whether we were going to get a PG-13 rating in the States, which I think is a 12 here. And you know, we got the rating, and so everything you see there's nothing was cut out of the movie to help the rating.
What you mentioned comic runs there. What other comic runs would you recommend people to download at home, just to kind of fill in the general, you know?
Any comic runs?
Well, specifically about Cap or
About Cap. Cap Reborn is a great run. Look, I'm a fan of the Ultimates. I know it's not like I like reading it because I like to get ideas from the Ultimates, just as a alternate version of what heroes could be. Again, like I said, I like postmodern deconstructionist approach to comic books. I started collecting when you know, Frank Miller released The Dark Knight in the 80s, and I remember that blew my mind because I was like, oh, you could take superheroes and put them in the world that I live in, and suddenly they're accessible to me. So I always look for that kind of material.
And I bet, Anthony, you were pleased that some of the comic book look didn't make it through to the film for your character.
No. I said, if, you know, you show up, and I was in pretty good shape because I was coming off this bodybuilder movie I did. So I show up, having a good time, and you see Chris Evans, and you're like, damn, this dude is in shape. So I have to get in better shape. And I'm like, if I'm going to work out this hard and in this kind of shape, I want spandex. I told them, I was like, red spandex with the V and the taco meat. That'll get it popping. No woman don't like taco meat. You know what I mean? So that was my goal with the character, but they kept saying no. So in my spare time, I would wear my spandex.
Yeah, pajamas, yeah. I think we've got another question. Time another question. How about on the right-hand side? There's a lady there in a red top.
Hi. My question is to everybody on the panel. If you got to create your own superhero, who would it be?
Shall I start? No, you guys, come on.
You have to start now.
The journalist man. He asks questions really well. Next.
I'm next.
By all
we
means.
start with Mackie?
Mackie, yeah, go.
Mine would be a everyday woman who is nice to men. Like she goes out with her friends after work, and if a guy comes over and says hello, she says hi. Or if she's on a date with a guy and she's like, oh, this isn't going well, she comes up with clever stuff so he's not stuck there trying to make interesting conversation. Just like a really nice girl.
You just lost the whole crowd, Mackie.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Thank you, Anthony.
There's one brother in the back like, I know, I'm with you.
Can you beat that?
Well, in the words of Matthew McConaughey. No.
All right.
All right. Yeah. I am my own hero. No, I don't know. Yeah. No, I was quoting him. I'm not. Please, bear with me. The superhero that I would have to have teleportation. That's just my go-to. I mean, I just can't think of anything cooler or a better superpower than that. Yeah.
Makes sense to me. I've been thinking about this question for a long time, and I've arrived at Pizza Man. I just want to be able to eat all the pizza I want with no repercussions. Yeah.
Here. I mean, they've already made Banana Man, so yeah, there you go. Let's have one more from this side of the room. How about that gentleman wearing the, I think, Avengers top? That man there.
They're all wearing Avengers tops.
Hello, good evening, panel. Good evening, everyone. My question is to the whole panel. First of all, I'd say thank you for coming to Untitled London. The first question, I got two questions. The first part is, what do you think makes Captain America an inspirational and workable Marvel movie character in the 21st century? And I've got a following question, which is, if you're considering another Captain America movie, would you consider doing a movie in London, based in London, with a possible team up with Captain Britain? Thank you.
Captain Britain.
Are you reading our minds?
Why Captain America?
Listen, again, like being a comic book fan.
You just heard a snippet of Anthony's amazing Cockney chimney sweeper voice.
Right? Do it again.
No, it's bad.
Come on,
You'll
now
be
you
mad
go.
at me. It's like, Captain America, why don't we go and find Iron Man? That's good, right?
I don't know what's scarier, his expression on his face.
Hey, hey, Captain America. I learned my British accent watching Oliver Twist. So, there you have it.
Anyway, Captain America as a modern 21st century hero, possibly with Captain Britain.
For us, when I was a kid, sometimes I found Cap a little jingoistic, a little patriotic for me, sometimes a little superficial. So I'd imagine Steve McQueen playing him in my head. I always liked it a little bit edgier. And then that's why I love Brubaker's run so much, is that he reinvented the character in a way that was accessible to me and I think a lot of people around the world. It wasn't so much about, he wasn't really representing the country, he was representing principles, and a certain code that he had. So I think that's how we tried to make him accessible to today's audiences. Now, as far as Captain Britain goes, if we told you anything, we would explode. Marvel puts an implant in your neck. There's a sniper.
That leads me to my next question. What can you not tell us about the next movie?
We just told you everything.
That's a really good point.
No,
actually.
we say, listen, we just started breaking story on it. Clearly, we want to see how people react to this film. But one thing we can tell you when you see this movie is that the story of the Winter Soldier is not over. It's just beginning.
Now,
you can keep that costume for like 6 more years.
At least. Now, Sebastian, tell me, how did you find out you were going to be in this film?
I know why you're asking me this, because you've asked me this about 5 times.
I love this story.
It was July 4th, 2012, and I was at a party. It was Independence Day in America, and I got a phone call from my friend, and he said, "Dude, congratulations!" And I was like, "On what?" And he was like, they just released the title of the sequel. It's Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And I said, no way. I had no idea. That's literally how I found out.
I love the idea that he just called you up and just wanted to wish you happy 4th of July.
It was a good one, though, for sure.
Now, when it came to the whole, let's talk about this. Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier. Now, when you first signed on for the first film,
You just ruined the film for all of these people.
God,
especially that girl in the suit. When you first signed on, were you first part of this whole Marvel universe? Were you told this might happen, or was it genuinely a surprise?
It really was a big tease. I mean, they educated me on the character and the arc of the character and where he went in the comic books, but I had no idea in the first movie. I just had the script that was in front of my face to sort of use as a map, as a guide to inform me as to, okay, the character has more of an edge, I suppose, than in the comic books. Maybe he'll go that way. So I was just trying to look out for this happening.
And now in the first film, one of my favorite bits, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, but is the song. Why did we not get a song, especially involving these two, in the sequel? I think you guys deserved a little bit more screen time and maybe a little bit more singing time. This is not a cue for you to sing, by the way.
Oh, okay, I was like, yes.
Perhaps a rendition of Ebony and Ivory?
Well, the Falcon does bring a special song to the table in the movie. It's maybe not on a performance level, but certainly it has a presence.
It certainly does. Let's have one last question from one last person. I am going to choose...
Standing up.
Standing up. The standing up.
Standing up.
If she's standing up, she wins, yes.
About to faint.
The lady about to fall over.
Wait, there's a lot of build-up for this question.
Better be good.
Better be a good question.
I know I'm super intimidated now. Well, actually, this is going to sound really silly. My question is for Sebastian. I'm a really, really, really big fan of Bucky Barnes. You can see I've got the hair. I've got the Winter Soldier hair. You actually signed my bionic arm yesterday at the premiere because I was dressed as the Winter Soldier. But one of the things that I've loved from your interviews is that you've clearly done your homework on the character. And so, from one Bucky fan to another, what's your favorite arc?
That Bucky has.
Yeah, in the comics.
The one that we're obviously taking. I mean, he's such an interesting character to me. You know, you don't often get the chance to sort of kind of play on both sides, so to speak, the good side, the bad side. I mean, he's one of those characters that could go either way, and it's a lot of fun to play that. It's more interesting.
Listen, don't beat around the bush. It's the one where you take over for Cap and sleep with Natasha.
Captain
right?
America.
Right? And then he's dating Natasha. Come on. You want to kiss Scarlett, right? No, I'm just kidding. We're teasing.
Say that again?
The bear fighting one.
No Love for Gulag, where he takes his shirt off and fights a bear.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. I would do
or
that.
is that in Captain America 3?
Do it right now.
I think
Bring on the bear, guys.
that's maybe
Wait
a
a minute.
candidate
Who's
for a
seen-
Marvel one-shot.
Who's seen Winter Soldier yet so far? Does he take his shirt off in the Winter Soldier? All right, there you're in.
I think that's probably a good time to wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming down to the Apple Regent Street store. So thanks again to Anthony and Joe Russo, and of course Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. And please remember that the film is coming out very, very soon.
And thank you, Ellie, and thank you everyone
Thank you all
for
for
coming
coming
Thank
out.
you guys
Really
so much.
appreciate
Thank you guys.
it. Enjoy the movie.